player Will.
Welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here. This is the Sadali Quick Hit character review. And so kicking things off, he's a brand new DPS unit being added to the game permanent pool as part of the Earth element. Now, he does equip gloves as his main form of weapon. That's also what he belongs to for job-based vision cards. He is a magic damage-oriented attacker using magic attacks, so scales off his magic stat and scales off enemy spirit. They've given him the unique main job of Church of the Crystal Priest with Arithmetician and Blade Soul as the sub-jobs, and yes, he has another 100 cost unit added to the game. Now, just some summary bullet points, kind of getting to know him a little bit better. He is a bulkier magic damage dealing unit, and he does specialize in anti-magic damage. That he's got 30% permanent magic reduction alongside a couple other things, and he does also very much favor all element resistance, and he can help sustain the team by passing on damage absorption not only to his attacks but to the allies' attacks, alongside a Cura-like ability, a sequential follow-up ability, kind of like Faris has, that will activate after he uses his main attack. Now, he does have great other utility in the kit. You have Dispel Courage, Dispel Re-Raise, you can offensively Dispel Shell, Magic AoE Wide Rest, and Magic Damage Reduction buffs that have come after the 4th anniversary. He also brings an aura effect that can give teammates 20 AoE res and an extra 50% reaction block rate. He is a unit that also brings a very powerful limit break, will grant him a follow-up attack for 3 turns, alongside an extra 20% physical and magic damage reduction for 2 hits. So all of this obviously adding up to that bulkier profile. He does also have a great additional X factor of CT up when taking damage and his health falls below a certain percent, kind of like the Wizard Rod that many of you are used to. He can activate this twice in a battle, so really high impact ability to get a turn back very quickly so that the enemy doesn't chain him down, or he can potentially secure a kill a lot faster as well. Now, when it comes to glove-oriented vision cards, kind of setting up the conversation of how you can build him in terms of any kind of rainbow potential team, this is really similar to Crimson Wizard for those of you that may have watched, and I highly recommend that video, considering that Sadali and Crimson Wizard are, in the short term, kind of a package bundle. Not necessarily, but that seems to be the ceiling if that's something that you're interested in. But glove units, by and large, that you see in the bottom 2 rows here, relatively old, a little bit power crept, and even if they are valuable still, they're definitely niche. And so when it comes to the glove class, Sadali is an excellent unit coming into that class, but as a group, it's a little bit lackluster. But the vision cards are actually very good. They do have a lot of things here that can support them offensively, even utility-wise, but Glove does have 2 very, very important vision cards upcoming. They're not even in the game yet. The Sadali vision card is coming next week, and the Exia vision card is coming in 2 to 3 weeks. So these are 2 cards I would say kind of must-pulls if you are going for Sadali. They are a bit of a package bundle to make sure that you really can use him. And so when it comes to team building, again, really similar to the Crimson Wizard profile, but I would say Sadali might be a little more limited in that I think the Earth units are a bit more finicky than the fire units that Crimson Wizard had access to. But I do like for Earth units like the Veritas of the Earth and 2P, who are both part of the Fist group, that not only do they work in a mono Earth oriented team, but even as a Fist oriented team for some of those vision cards, there is some overlap there. Ashen King Mod is a great Earth unit, so if you have invested heavily in him, Sadali does go very well also. And even Halloween Lucio in some instances where there's not only some axe synergy here that you're seeing on the very far right, but Sadali does have some blind capabilities that can help Lucio's evasion. It really doesn't do anything versus the guaranteed hits that we're seeing, so I don't have high hopes for that, but out of all the Earth units that you might already have access to, I think these 4 are likely some of the ones that will lead you to the most success. In terms of glove companions, definitely far more niche. Kefka and Roy are far cry from very competitive units. They never really hit the mark, and Addison Ray is very good, but definitely power crept at this point. But the Crimson Wizard really is the primo glove user if you are trying to make any kind of glove team. But outside of that, looking across other kinds of job classes, Staff Devout is one of the strongest overall just because of the quality of units, the number of vision cards, the fact that they're also magic type units, so there is some synergy there in terms of how they work together. But physically speaking, Greatsword and Fist do technically have some cards there too, but they are very reliant upon these 2 upcoming vision cards as well. Book certainly has a couple. when it comes to potential synergy, and Axe does too. It's not amazing, but the units are good enough that I think they can stand on their own. And so when it comes to my top 3 favorite teams, this top one is the same as the Crimson Wizard. It's this team of the duo of them with a dedicated support, and I prefer Lucille just because of the staff devout synergy that they tend to have more vision cards, and I do think she does more to enable them offensively and to kind of be more self-sufficient. You obviously could go with other supports. No doubt you could throw Shals in there if that's a unit you have. You have Summer Resnick, who's in this bottom team, but I do prefer this combo of 3 if I had my choice. The second team here is a mono Earth team, but again, has some of that overlap of the Fist vision card potential, where this should be an evade-oriented team, and it uses Sadali's blind capabilities to help 2P with her overall evade rate. It's loaded with potential follow-up damage and various forms of self-sustain. Because Sadali can pass on healing to teammates, and Veritas of the Earth does have a decent amount of self-sustain himself to be able to do that job as a tank that you want him to do. And finally, the last team here, really similar to the top one. The big change is just putting in Exia here, or theoretically any staff devout unit. I'm sure you could throw in Angela or Sol, but I know Exia looks to be the most competitive of the units, so if I'm picking my top 3 favorite teams, I think she gets the nod there, but kind of the same idea. You can really use any support for this team. I have an affinity toward Lucille when it comes to enabling 2 DPS units, but Summer Resnick obviously is very important. Probably better than Lucille in most instances at the top end of the game, where the Barrier Seal, the Curse Aura, the Asunaga, the Magic Shields, all really valuable things. So this is kind of my wheelhouse if I'm going for Sadali. And so my overall expectations, grading him on a scale of 1 to 5 on each of these attributes, for me, Guild War, I do think he's great. I think it's kind of tough with the meta timing, and I'll talk about that in the key takeaways, where wind is very strong at the moment, and there's not a lot of lightning to really give him that edge. But he has a lot of things innately with the all-element res, with the utility of what he brings to teammates, that it still makes him a really valuable Guild War unit, because I think there's a lot of applications that will age very well as the game continues. For Arena, I also think great, and for that same reason, that he does bring enough utility in all-element res and has enough of a niche that I think you can play him in a variety of Arena iterations, that as those bonus units change, I think Sadali is one unit that's equipped to kind of hang with the weekly changes in and out. For PvE scores, it's a poor grade for me. There's really nothing in his kit that makes for a great PvE unit, in my opinion. Not known for his imperils. He has no innate multi-hits or anything, so I'm probably passing on that. And again, that's in the context of what else Earth has going for it from a PvE perspective. For cost-limited content, I am going for 4 for great. And again, the same reason that I think he is the kind of unit you can put into a team with some lower cost units, and he can pass on enough utility to them and do enough damage himself and get his turn active enough with that CT up passive that I think he can do well. The TMR for me is a 3. It's a good. It's not amazing, it's not awful, but I could see some potential usage coming out of it. But I don't love the stats on the TMR. It's okay as an accessory, but it's not awful. But for me, the overall grade is a 4 for great. He is a great unit. He's right there with all the more recent competitive units. Does a lot of things offensively as a magic damage dealer. A lot of great bulk that we look for in a modern era unit. My key takeaways, I think he's an excellent permanent pool Earth addition. They were falling behind as of late in terms of permanent pool options, so he really does come in to bolster that team for the new era of the game. I think he does rely heavily on the 2 new upcoming vision cards for any kind of rainbow play, and that's to me where you really will do well. Sure, you can run mono Earth, absolutely, but even the mono Earth cards, some of the best ones are limited, like many of the elements, and a lot of them are physical damage oriented in their own right, so it doesn't really help Sadali in particular. But the voice in the back of my head, and this is with Garusa incoming as the latest JP unit, I do have some concerns over the wind strength at the moment. Now, I'll be honest, Sadali versus Shreka is not as far apart of a matchup as you might think on paper. He's got enough things from an anti-magic perspective and the all-element res that he actually does pretty well versus her, but you throw Garusa into the mix now, and obviously you're going to see a big uptick in wind. I just think that does not bode well in the short term for him, and as a permanent pull unit, I think gives you some flexibility to wait on pulling him, maybe getting him on a select ticket in the future, maybe getting him on a random pull, and being able to build him that way. So it's not really a reflection of his quality of a unit, but per usual, a lot of these things have to do with the timing of the release. But that's my thoughts overall. For those of you pulling for him tomorrow, good luck pulling. He is a very good unit that I know you'll get some returns on. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later.